All right, welcome back, Jake. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jay Samit, the author of Disrupt You.
How convenient to have that so close by. um, Listen, it goes without saying you have a background of accomplishments, technology, social digital media. You've been with major corps, with startups. Share a little bit about how you've evolved in your career, starting with the infamous, what did you want to be when you grew up?
So, I wanted to do something in entertainment. I found it fascinating, and I got onto the internet before there was a web in 1978 and knew what a computer was when nobody did. And so I thought I'd be a special effects company competing with Lucas and ILM. And early on in my first year in business, there was a joint venture between Pioneer, IBM, and Universal Studios to create a thing called the Laserdisc. And they said, do you know how to make one of these? And I said, do you have a budget? And I said, we have a huge budget. I said, I'm your guy. And what I learned then that has served me well is in life, you either have to be the best at what you do or the only one doing it. Because if you're the only one doing it, by definition, you're the best. So, really, what it's about in today's world of constantly changing technology and innovation is to disrupt yourself and really figure out what are you unique and good at. Because you can hire everything else under you. The only two skill sets that you can't hire are drive and persistence. And if you have those, the sky's the limit.
Did you, when you were younger, you mentioned to me how you once wanted to be a stand-up comedian and you were up against Robin Williams, tough competition. Did you know were you in this disruptive mood when you were younger?
So I had to pay my way through college, so you had to figure out how the world works. And at first, you think this world is solid and defined. As you grow up, and as I talked about in Disrupt You, you'll realize how malleable these things are. And so I found this shirt manufacturer would give me their factory seconds, and I'd sell them at the swap meet on the weekends. And I'd see all the big guys doing stuff, and you need a sign, something that attracts people, perfect for summer. This nothing was working. And one day, out of boredom, and the shirts were $1.50, I put up a sign, $1.50 each, three for $5, and I sold out. And not one person ever stopped and said, "Wait a second, three at $1.50 should be $4.50. Where's the bargain here?" Everybody goes, three for $5. That's a great deal. And it just opened my mind that marketing is the creating of demand in the absence of logic. And so once you can start realizing the entire value chain where value is created, whether it's in research and marketing and sales and distribution, you can suddenly compete with the biggest giants in the world, as we've done, as I've taken on the Googles and the IBMs and the Microsoft, and built apps that have 100 million users or, bring new technologies to countries around the world. It's that easy.
It's that easy. Great line. Well, you as you've talked about, you've published a lot of great stuff, including recently Disrupt You, which I'm about halfway through right now, and there it is. It's disrupting the video right now. I'm about halfway through, and it's a great book. And like I said, I was in Palo Alto and San Francisco last few days, being your unofficial assist. But they loved it. And with respect to talent, you talked about because that's obviously one of my core businesses. We focus on attracting the infamous right fit and how to help our clients develop that talent and keep that talent. And as you just said, you want to hire the best talent. How would you advise management of both growing established companies, which you've worked with, and entrepreneurs as they build and grow and try to raise funding for their businesses to actually hire the best talent?
So, two things. Everyone is attracted to a vision like a moth is to a flame. So, if you can't articulate what your startup is, what your division is, what your goals are, then your only tool left is a dollar sign. And that doesn't bring loyalty, that doesn't bring passion, that doesn't bring people going above and beyond.
Right.
But when you have a great idea, when you have something that you're the Pied Piper of, the talent comes in. So before you can pick the right talent, you have to disrupt yourself. And self-disruption is akin to doing plastic surgery, except you hold the scalpel, because you have to figure out what are you backfilling? What are not your strengths? Where do you need to improve your abilities? So many startups have great visionaries, but very little management experience. Some of the most successful people, Reid Hoffman, genius, smartest man I've ever worked with, and I've worked with Bill Gates and everybody. Reed didn't make himself CEO of LinkedIn. He knew that that was a better job done by somebody else. Pierre, when the beginning of eBay, when we did the first auction, Pierre didn't make himself the head. He knew to hire that management expertise. So when you can be honest of your shortcomings, now some you have to learn to improve. And one of the big challenges in a world that's evolving geometrically at the pace of innovation that we have is you have to commit yourself to lifelong learning, but not be afraid to say, I don't know. I hope in every startup that I've launched that I was the dumbest person in the room. Because if you're the smartest person in the room, you better hope you're alone. Because the whole point of hiring people is the people that can take you further than you could on your own. And one of the challenges in many corporate settings is people think self-preservation. If nobody in this organization can replace me, I'm guaranteed. And you know what? You're guaranteed to fail, and you all go home together.
Absolutely. I do a lot of sports analogies, and very simple and well often used one is, the best coach is the one that hires an assistant coach that can take his position.
Absolutely.
Happens all the time, and those are the ones that succeed. One thing I love that you talk about, and it's only because I had a coach and teacher in grade seven who taught me visualization when it was like, what the hell is that, basically?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and
So,
um, and I've coached a lot of kids, and I talk to them about visualization in the dressing room, how they visualize themselves walking onto the ice, and the whole game is already played before they actually play it. And to this day, they when they see me, they say, "Okay, Mark, I know the V word, I know all about it already." But you know, you talk about it really great in your book. Can you talk about how you think it works and why it works?
so the science of it's called effectuation, and there's been tons of studies, but the simplest way to start is, have you ever heard a good idea from somebody in a bad mood? No. The definition of a bad mood is you're shut down emotionally, everything. The greatest opportunities could be walking by you, but you're in this funk. And every day you spend living in the past is a day you're robbing from the future. So if you start with just two basic statements every morning when you wake up, okay? Today can be better than yesterday, and I have the power to make it so. And it sounds simple, and it sounds like it's hippy dippy, California thinking. But when you hear somebody like Schwarzenegger, how many times he envisioned being up there on the stage, when you hear every athlete talk about it, when, we talk about comedians, when Jim Carrey was homeless, wanting to make it in this town, living in the back of his car, he wrote himself a check for $10 million. Now, the difference with effectuation and just visualization is the difference between a dream and a goal is assigning a date. Because when it has a deadline, then it's a goal and you can work backwards from that date. And so he put a date 5 years out, and he wrote a check to himself for $10 million. And 2 months before that date, he got a check for Dumb and Dumber for $10 million. He had achieved his goal. And I was fortunate enough a few years ago to be the commencement speaker, and it's up on YouTube, my name and commencement. And I talked about everybody I went to college with. And every single person that had that drive, regardless of their field, made it to the very top. So there is no barrier. We put these blinders on. We were told from a young age what we can't do.
Right,
I'm transparent in the book talking about I was told I'm dyslexic.
right.
In the 60s, that meant you're a moron. And yet Richard Branson's dyslexic, and Steve Jobs, and Walt Disney, and George Patton, and all these people that think different. So thinking different is your greatest advantage. Having problems is your greatest advantage because you know what problems need to be tackled and solved.
Right.
So whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah, a lot of people, I guess, try to dismiss it as, oh, that's just positive thinking, but it really is powerful.
Because it opens you up to possibilities. And, I remember in high school, the last science class that I took was when they explained that the universe is expanding and getting bigger. And I couldn't get my mind around what's it moving into, what's bigger, what was there. It makes no sense to me. I'm done with this. But if the universe is limitless, so are you. And it is really that connected. And when you look at all the great accomplishments of mankind, they were just done by a few people that refuse to quit.
It goes back to your, failing is different than failure comment.
100%.
Yeah. Um, in the book, Disrupt You, you talk about how the strategies that helped companies flourish can be applied at an individual level. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Sure. So when you think of a company has a value chain that creates value. So the R&D creates the product, and then manufacturing makes it, and then sales, marketing markets it, and sales, and then distribution, and all that. Well, you have to look at your same person as a product. And I'll give you a very simple example of how people don't think of themselves as a product. We're talking about Reed, LinkedIn, great tool, super successful.
Yeah.
It is actually the first chance that any future employer sees of you. It is your first impression. How did you choose the words that you have there? How did you write those sentences? Was it like, this sounded good to me, or I just sat down and did it? Do you know the words that hiring software's OCR software is looking for? Do you know which words statistically and through scientific study get more read than others? Why wouldn't you use those tools? And I talk about in Disrupt You, I actually show you the words that get people hired.
I read that.
And so each time we have the ability in this world of so much data to empower our personal brand, why wouldn't you treat yourself like a company and be the brand of one?
It's brilliant because we talk about branding executives who want to be on boards and they have no idea how to get on a board, and it's more competitive to get on a board now because it's more diverse. There's younger people properly getting on boards, and it's funny they don't know how to brand themselves. And for that matter, to their credit, to some degree, they've worked so hard during their life at a job that they haven't even developed the relationships to be able to take account of it later.
And then you take that message. So the first third of the book of Disrupt You is how to look at yourself as the individual. The second third is how to apply that to business. And the point that you bring up is so key. I meet so many people that spend their entire life working in their business as opposed to on their business.
Right, right.
Right? And they miss the whole point. And then the last third is if you solve the monetary issues, you can apply these same things to NGOs, to climate change, to world issues. The Arab Spring was a great example. A whole bunch of those countries overthrew dictators with not 1 ounce of blood.
Yeah.
It was just using these same tools and looking at it differently. So we're really all connected. And from a business perspective, we live in a moment where we are 1 click away on our smartphone from 6 billion people, which means you only have to be right for a nanosecond to become a billionaire. That's why you see self-made billionaires in their 20s.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. I'm still working on the first billion, but getting closer. Um, at USC, you're teaching business and engineering students, I gather, to develop entrepreneurial skills, partnering with each other. I went on college visits with my middle son not too long ago, and he's an entrepreneurial business, and you saw the engineering department there, and already he's thinking, who can I partner with in that group? Um, Especially for the up and coming leaders, tell us how relationships that you develop over the years, especially in this digital media world, impact your personal and career growth.
So I always ask people, name a billion-dollar company that is just one person. Okay? So you're not going to get there alone. And you don't know who knows who, which was the genius of LinkedIn.
Right.
LinkedIn isn't, oh, I know Fred. I know where Fred works. It's, you don't know who Fred met that knows somebody else, et cetera, et cetera. So we're all interconnected. So the earlier you can start building those personal relationships, see what's out there, because so much of it is about speed and trust
Right.
and integrity and relationship. So if you can build those branches now, you look at, all the great partnerships that happen because people were college roommates or knew each other here and there. Trey Parker and Matt Stone. I mean, what a great collaboration. Uh, so you can't start too young. And one of the reasons why I teach how to build a high-tech startup that takes business students and engineering students and put them together is both walk in saying, oh, as we did when we were young, we know everything, we can make this happen. And the business guys realize very quickly that they don't know how to articulate their idea in a way that an engineer can code it. And the engineers can solve a problem but have no idea of this mystery of how to bring something to market. They're completely different skill sets.
Right.
Now, I had a couple students that came up to me 2 years ago, best pitch, so they built a business in the course ever, went out in 2 weeks, got them their Series A, and they did $150 million their first year, right? So we are that interconnected, and you say, well, why do they have these ideas that the rest of the world don't? Because the neat advantage of growing up today is you grew up with all this technology, not the habits that we had of making a voice call or whatever we grew up over time. And when they go looking on Googling for something, they assume it's there. And when they don't find it, they may realize that they're the first ones to connect the dots of the market need and that the technologies come together. One of the most um, amazing outcomes of writing Disrupt You and having it sell so well around the world that I didn't expect is I hear from readers. They come to jsamit.com or reach out to me on Twitter. And people come to me and some of them share some of their inventions and ideas that they're putting together. And you are just humbled
Yeah.
because what I call a thigh smacker. It's not that these people were PhD engineers in a lab for 50 years. They took something that exists over here and something that exists over here and put it together. You got time for a quick example?
Yeah, sure. I love it.
You ever gotten one of those Happy Meal digital watches that cost like 10 cents to make with a little digital display?
Yeah.
So imagine one of those on a prescription bottle cap. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Did I take my medicine today at lunch? I don't know. Every time you put the cap back on, it starts the countdown clock again. Oh, it's been 12 hours since you touched the bottle. No, I didn't. Or, oh, it's been 4 minutes. Oh, yeah, right before I got on Skype with Mark, I took it. The biggest problem any drug manufacturer will tell you with prescriptions is efficacy. People don't follow instructions, don't take it.
Right.
We could change the quality of life on mankind by taking a 10-cent watch and attaching it to a 10-cent bottle, and in mass, it actually only increases 2 cents to making it. So this product is now coming out. He has the patent. How genius any of us could have thought of that. And a big part of Disrupt You talks about taking things from other fields and applying them to the problem that you know.
Yeah. Well, it's the old story. Find the pain and the need and solve it. Right.
Or find the solution that's already out there that nobody applied to that pain and that need.
Good
So you
point.
don't have to create from whole cloth. You don't have to. A lot of people are surprised. I've been associated with the next innovation, the first download of video, the first video on a computer, the first music album downloaded, the first multi-party voice over IP. 30 years I've been doing the next tech thing. I've never written a line of code in my life.
I
I,
get it. Me
I,
neither.
I teach engineering at the graduate school level, but I'm not an engineer.
Well, you hire or engage with the people that are smart in what they do, right?
Exactly.
I know. And you said something it's never too early, never too late. I coach a lot of high school students in a program we have here in LA where they wanted me to come in and talk to them about branding and use of social media in their career and all this stuff. And I challenge them every year to identify 5 people around the world in 5 different countries and without any agenda, get in relationship for the next 8 years till they're 25. And they will have the best friends, the best potential partners, the best knowledge of anything going on in the world. And naturally, they say 8 years. You got to be kidding! I'm going to be old when I'm 25. But they've got an opportunity to, engage with people all over the place. Now, never too late. Tell us that quick story about your 92-year-old friend.
Oh yeah, so a couple years ago, we came up with an idea to do the first multi-screen game show. So a television game show, but instead of watching from home, you could be winning from home. And so partnered with, he's 94 now, and his name's Doug Netter, phenomenal guy, has been in the television and studio industry forever, but he still has new projects. I was on the phone with him this week. He's always looking forward, always creating. So how cool was it that we sold to the CW the first multi-screen game show ever? And you would expect, oh, is this coming from 2 millennials? No, it's coming from somebody who was born in the 1920s.
It's totally inspirational. I love it.
And he still drives, and he's very cool. And yeah, it inspires me.
Yeah, no, it's spectacular. All right, these are one-word type of answers here. Do you have any pets?
No,
That takes care of that. That's a good one word. Do you have a favorite activity or sport?
magic.
America's Got Talent's coming soon.
I've been a performing member of the Magic Castle for 30 years.
Oh, very cool. I'll have to get over there again. You have a favorite movie or TV show?
Blazing Saddles, TV show Get Smart.
There goes back. How about a favorite book? This is a tough one.
Disrupt You.
Who would...
Fine.
Favorite music? Favorite food?
1968 to 72, pretty much everything in music. I'm from the Beatles, Beach Boys, Simon and Garfunkel era.
Love it. Hey, thanks so much. That was awesome.
Thank you, Mark.